The night was cold, and the city lights flickered like trembling stars against the darkened sky. Somewhere between the quiet alleys and the bustling avenues, a young woman sat in the back of a car, staring out the window, her heart full of doubt. She had imagined her first real date to be magical, something out of the movies. But instead, the man she was meeting had chosen the cheapest diner on the corner of town. The neon sign above the place flickered, half broken, as if it too was embarrassed to stay lit. Her chest tightened. Was this really worth it? She had said yes because she thought this man might be different, but now she wasn't sure if she was about to regret it. If you believe in kindness, in love that comes from the heart rather than wealth, and in giving people second chances, please don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire. Her name was Lily Parker. She was 23, soft-spoken, and carried the invisible scars of a childhood that had taught her the meaning of struggle. She worked as a cashier in a small bookstore, spending most of her days behind the counter, watching others live the lives she only dreamed of. Lily wasn't the kind of girl men usually noticed. She wore second-hand clothes, often stitched and mended, and her shoes had seen better days. But she had eyes that spoke volumes, eyes filled with both sorrow and hope. The man who had asked her out was Daniel Brooks, a construction worker in his late 20s. He wasn't polished or refined, but there was something in his voice the day they met that had made her feel safe. He had helped her when her car broke down outside the bookstore, kneeling in the cold to fix a loose wire without even asking for anything in return. His hands were rough, his jeans worn, but his smile had been kind, and for Lily that was enough to say yes when he nervously asked if she wanted to grab dinner sometime. Now here she was, staring at the chipped paint of the diner's door. She had pictured something else, a cozy restaurant, maybe a place with candles and soft music. But when Daniel walked up to greet her, dressed in a clean but faded shirt, his eyes full of sincerity, she forced herself to push down her disappointment. He didn't have much, she reminded herself, and neither did she. Maybe this was all he could afford. Inside, the diner smelled of frying oil and strong coffee. A jukebox in the corner played an old love song that no one was listening to. A few truck drivers sat at the counter, hunched over their meals. Daniel led her to a booth near the window, his movements slightly nervous, as though he was afraid she would walk out any second. He opened the menu like it was something grand, smiling at her shyly as if to say, "This is the best I can give you." At first, Lily's heart sank. The cheapest burgers, pancakes, and greasy fries stared back at her. But then she noticed something else. Daniel wasn't looking at the food. He was looking at her, as if her being there meant more to him than any fancy restaurant ever could. His eyes held a kind of gratitude, a quiet thankfulness that she had shown up at all. As the minutes passed, Lily found herself softening. They ordered simple meals. He got a plate of pancakes, and she asked for a small salad. They laughed awkwardly at first, fumbling through small talk, but then the conversation shifted. Daniel spoke about his father who had passed away when he was a boy, leaving him to grow up fast and take care of his younger brother. Lily shared how her mother had worked 2 jobs, barely scraping by, and how she had promised herself she would never judge someone by the size of their wallet. Slowly, the cheap diner began to fade around them. The greasy tables, the chipped cups, the flickering neon, all of it became invisible as they opened up pieces of their hearts. Lily noticed the way Daniel's eyes lit up when he talked about his dreams of one day starting his own construction business, building homes for people who couldn't afford them. Daniel noticed the quiet strength in Lily's voice when she spoke about wanting to finish her studies, even though she worked long hours just to survive. The turning point came when an elderly couple entered the diner. They were frail, moving slowly, and the woman clutched her husband's arm tightly as though the world might knock her down if she let go. They sat across from Daniel and Lily, whispering softly to each other. When the waitress came, the couple quietly confessed that they could only afford to share one plate. Daniel watched them, his eyes thoughtful, and then, without a second of hesitation, he excused himself and went to the counter. He pulled out his wallet, Lily could see how thin it was, and paid for the couple's meal in full, telling the waitress to keep it a secret. Lily sat there stunned. She realized then that Daniel had brought her to the diner Not because he didn't care, but because he wanted to be real with her. He wanted her to see who he was, a man with little money but a heart full of kindness. She blinked back tears, her earlier doubts dissolving into something warmer, something stronger. The elderly couple received their food with smiles, completely unaware of Daniel's gesture. But Lily knew. She looked at him, at his quiet pride, and in that moment she saw more value in him than in all the polished men she had ever dreamed of. This was someone who gave, even when he had little. This was someone who would never let her feel alone in a world that often turned its back on people like them. As the night deepened, their conversation grew richer, their laughter louder. Daniel told her how he had been saving every penny for years, not for himself, but to put his younger brother through school. Lily confessed her fear of being abandoned, of not being enough for anyone. And instead of shying away, Daniel looked her in the eyes and told her she was more than enough, that the world needed people like her who knew how to fight and survive. What happened next shocked everyone in the diner. Lily stood up, her cheeks flushed, and hugged Daniel right there in front of everyone. The truck drivers at the counter turned their heads, the waitress froze mid-step, and the jukebox played on as though the world was holding its breath. It wasn't the kind of hug that lovers share on first dates. It was something deeper, more powerful. It was the embrace of two souls who had finally found a place to belong. The diner, cheap and forgotten by most, suddenly became sacred ground. Everyone who witnessed it felt a stirring in their hearts. It wasn't about the food or the place. It was about seeing raw, unfiltered love, the kind of love that didn't need wealth, glamour, or show. Weeks later, the story of that diner spread. The waitress told it to other customers, and the truck drivers told it to their families. People began to whisper about the young man who had nothing but gave everything, and the young woman who saw beyond the surface. That night became a reminder that true love doesn't need candlelit tables or expensive menus. It only needs two hearts willing to understand and care for each other. Lily and Daniel's lives changed after that. They continued to meet, always in simple places, but their bond grew richer each day. Daniel eventually introduced Lily to his younger brother, who adored her instantly. She became the missing piece in their small but strong family, and Lily, for the first time, felt seen and cherished, not for how she looked or what she had, but for who she truly was. Years later, when Daniel did finally save enough to start his construction company, the first house he built wasn't for profit. It was a modest home, built with his own hands, where he and Lily would start their life together. On the day they moved in, they stopped by that same old diner to celebrate, not because they couldn't afford more anymore, but because that place had been the beginning of everything. The waitress still remembered them, and when she brought their food, she whispered, "I knew from that night you two would make it." If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep telling stories that remind the world that love and kindness are still alive. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Would you choose love in a cheap diner over luxury without sincerity? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one, because sometimes the smallest places hold the biggest miracles.